Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IMEC Open Tables Green Room show for December, ladies and gentlemen. The end of the season, the Golden Mandy Award was given away on this show. And of course, we all know now that Mr. Moneybags73, 6, whichever one you remember him as, won the Golden Mandy. Congratulations, Evan. We're very glad to
Thank you
have you
very
here with
much.
us, my friend.
Happy
Absolutely.
to be here.
Uh, how did you get a start? I know you've told the story 1,000 times, but how did you get your start in Mandela Effect?
My son came to me and asked me a series of questions after having watched a Shane Dawson video in March of 2016. And that was the beginning. I got all 5 or 6 questions wrong. There was Berenstein, Looney Tunes, um, maybe Febreze, Mother Teresa. I don't remember, those were some of the questions. I got everything wrong, things I had known most of my life. And
Right.
that was what really bothered me. It's like, I've known these things since I was a kid. Like, how are you getting me on all this stuff? And so
So, what
that,
led you to actually start the channel and do the voting video series?
okay, so I already had a channel with 10,000 subscribers talking about gold and silver and financial information, going down the rabbit hole, the Federal Reserve, how they're not federal and they don't have any reserves, and trying to just, explain that all to everyone and just researching that. So I had the 10,000 people. So, and I kind of touched on different topics during, even though I had the financial channel, I would talk about the shift of the ages. And 2012, I did a series of videos around that time. And I had my channel since 2009. So I was kind of touching on that. So this kind of fit right in. So I did my first video. I talked about 16 different Mandela effects and put out that first video. I think it's got 650,000 views or something. But after, in retrospect, I wish I would have done it in a more viewer friendly way, because I just kind of showed, websites and stuff, and it wasn't a real. The quality of the video wasn't as good as I wished it had been, but still got a lot of views. And um, what happened was, a lot of my subs were like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And they all just ran for the hills. So over the next coming year, I lost about 5 or 6 thousand subscribers because I stopped talking about finance altogether. And to me, this was more important and actually saved me from that dark rabbit hole I was down with the Federal
Right.
Reserve and the financial system. That it
An
took me out of
incredibly
that.
dark rabbit hole, as we
It
all know. Yes,
it
sir.
saved me from that. So, I was grateful after a period of time went by. I was happy that it had taken me out of that. And so over the course of, all the years, I lost the initial, I think it was probably 6 or 7 thousand people. And then I gained another 40,000, after losing the original people. But I don't know, it was an interesting thing where just shift gears and you leave your name the same and you leave your banner the same with gold and silver and stuff and just start talking about a phenomenon. I don't know how many people do that on YouTube, but
Well, I shifted my channel. Wasn't that drastic. I shifted from the Emmy Theory series over to the radio show, but I could definitely see how you could lose a lot of subscribers when they're here to hear about gold, silver, the financial economy, and you start talking about Luke, I am your father is no longer the same, and the Bears ain't got an E. And yeah, I can see how
it's
people would be a
totally
little
different.
like, wait, what? What happened here? Uh, what is the wildest Mandela effect in well, you've been doing this 6 years, right?
Yeah, 7 in March.
What is the wildest number one Mandela effect that really was like, oh my God, what is this?
Wow, that's hard to nail down because there's been so many big ones. The one that comes to mind has got to be the airplane jet engines, the airline passenger airliner 747, 57, 67, whatever, all of them. They've all had the engines almost entirely in front of the wings my entire life. It just wasn't like that. I
I
just
agree.
went to Alabama and Arkansas this year trying to look for a home. I was going to buy a home and it didn't happen, but I flew on 8 airplanes in a couple weeks this year, and I hadn't flown in several years. And every single one, I just was looking at the engines. It just looked so wrong. Even now, I've known about it 5 years or whatever. It's just so bizarre.
I flew out of Sun Valley over to Seattle and Seattle down to Vegas back a couple years ago. When I came back to Tennessee from Idaho, every plane I seen, that's one thing I was looking at every chance I got. Every plane I could see, how are those engines setting? And none of them are setting like I remember. I'm right there with you. Team, you guys got any questions for Evan? I feel bad being the only one asking questions here.
I would like to ask. So, do you follow the money situation now still a little bit peripherally, and with the rising inflation? Do you have any opinions about? I figure that'd be a good green room
Right.
discussion.
Yeah, I still kind of pay attention. I was heavily into crypto
Mhm.
before we went into the bear market. It's not going real smooth right now with crypto, with exchanges collapsing like FTX and all this other stuff that's in the news. I do feel crypto will come back. It goes through cycles where it collapses
Absolutely.
80, 90% and then shoots up 1,000. I mean, that's what it's been doing since Bitcoin was created in 2009. It's just been going through these huge cycles. So I feel that it'll come back. As far as inflation and the economy, I'm a real, I did a lot of research into the word inflation. And to me, I don't like how the mainstream media and anyone talks about inflation, any financial person, the way they talk about inflation, but what they really mean is higher prices. So to me, that word is used as sort of to make people not clear on what's happening. Inflation is when you inflate the money supply. So they did the inflation during the pandemic, and they've always been inflating the amount of dollars. They print money basically.
Yeah.
So they're inflating the money supply, and then the result of that is you have all these more dollars chasing the same amount of goods. It causes higher prices. But they're not called higher prices. They're called inflation. We're having inflation. No, you guys did the inflation. Now we're having higher prices. So
Yeah, that
it
makes
just
sense.
confuses the whole discussion. And it's really upsetting when I turn on the news and inflation's high. And I'm like, oh, the prices are higher. No, you guys did I don't know. It's just, so yeah. So as far as like my situation where I'm having to wait now because the interest rates doubled on a home loan, getting a home loan. They went from 3.5% up to 7.5%. Luckily, they've come back down to 6.5%, but they're still really high. They're twice as high as they were. So someone buying like a $400,000 house has to come up with an extra 800 or 900 a month in interest payment. It's really cooled down the market. But that's what they had to do because they caused all the inflation. The economy was booming. And so that's what the Federal Reserve does. They have to do what they're doing. They have to raise the interest rates. But they act like, I don't know, they orchestrate it all. Since the 1920s, the roaring 20s, and then the Great Depression bust, and then we had other booms and bust. There's like that boom bust cycle going on for 100 years, and they're behind it all. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing. With a lot of people don't know the Federal Reserve is a private. If you go to your local post office, there's no private property sign at the post office. It's federal government. It's the people's
The Federal
building, basically.
Reserve is neither federal nor has any reserves, nor is a
Correct.
bank, right?
And it has a private property sign on all 12 regional banks, 12 or 14 regional banks around the country. They all have private property. They all have their private police force. They all have their own private police. So it's a private entity. It's quasi-government because the president elects the chairman of the board. And so it's looked at as governmental, but it's a private company that controls our currency. It's very bizarre when you look into it. It's I remember having a conversation with my aunt about this, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't really believe in conspiracy theories." And I'm like, "This is not a conspiracy theory. They're not the U.S. government doesn't own a single share of the Federal Reserve. It's a private corporation." So anyway, that's my
So
spiel
let
on
me
that.
ask you then, based on that, do you think it is going to fail? Do you think the Federal Reserve will finally be kicked out of this country? And then do you think we're going to head down that path or?
Like where there's a complete restructuring or something. You're saying, Jared? Because
Right,
that's kind of what I
right.
was wondering.
Some
Because a
people,
lot of
yeah,
people are
some,
predicting that, right?
yeah, a lot of people looking at yeah, exactly, remote viewing the future. That they're seeing stuff like the country is going to collapse. It doesn't look like it's holding together. The states will gain strength, and the nation overall will lose. It's kind of a shocking prediction, but it's a lot of people are predicting it. A lot of futurists.
It wouldn't surprise me. I was making videos on the collapse of the dollar back in 2010. So I believe the U.S. dollar is designed to collapse. I believe it's going to collapse. There's nothing backing it. A lot of people think it's backed by gold. It's backed by nothing. It's backed by faith. That's all, and it's backed by the U.S. military, because we have the
Nixon took us
petro.
off the gold standard in the 60s, right? 64?
71.
71.
Yeah, they
71.
closed the gold window, and no longer could you exchange dollars for gold. So since 71, we've been off the gold standard. There's been no gold backing. Back in 33, they made gold illegal, gold ownership. Roosevelt did. And then for 40 years, you couldn't even own it legally. And then you could own it again, but then there was no backing. I don't know. There's a lot of manipulation with gold and silver. And that's another reason I'm glad the Mandela effect took me out of that, because silver is the most manipulated commodity on the planet. And I learned that because there's this whole short market where they're trading paper, basically.
Yep.
The silver is not there to back up all the trading that's happening. So we're talking billions of ounces get traded, and it's suppressed the price. If they allowed silver to have its true price reflecting against how many dollars they've created, it'd probably, right now I think it's $25 an ounce. It'd probably be $300-400 an ounce or something. So I don't know. That's all just speculation. I guess none of that's proven, but from looking at it for 7-8 years or whatever I was doing, that's what I gathered from it all.
What kind of Mandela effects reality shifts have you seen with money? I've seen a lot with money, so I think it's quite interesting. It's very malleable. I don't know what you.
Yeah, I think the one that stands out the most with money is the $100 bill. I remember the blue stripe going all the way down the front of the $100 bill, and now there's at least two breaks in that. Because they had the new 100 come out, and there was a lot of speculation about the hidden symbolism in there, and there's different things on the bill, and so I looked at it quite a bit, and then at some point someone said, well, look here, the blue line's broken, and I'm like, no, that wasn't like that. So to me, that's probably the biggest one. I know there's one with the dime, Eisenhower versus Roosevelt. Yeah, I remember Eisenhower. Is Roosevelt on there now, I think?
I don't even know.
Yeah.
As of last check, he was, but that's been a couple months since I looked at it last.
Okay, there's something with that. The people talking about the dollar sign, the symbol.
Yeah, that one changed for me.
Yeah, I remember 2 lines.
And
apparently the official symbol has 1 line.
Right.
But I've kind of seen it both ways throughout the decades, so that's not huge for me.
Well, I would argue that people have just used it less and less and went more into the single line. But if the official is a single line, that's a problem, because the official was always the double line.
Right.
No, I think the official's single line. I'd have to look that up, but I think that's what the Mandela effect is. People are saying, no, I always had 2 lines. So
yeah, the keyboard has 1 line.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 1 line is a lot more popular now. You see that way more, where that wasn't the case 30 years ago. I don't remember. It seemed like everything was double line back then. So I don't know. That one's kind of strange. That's all that really stands out.
I guess what I'm really getting at is, if you've ever noticed with money itself, it's sort of like a hear what you want to hear, or see what you want to see. Because I've actually had money show up in my bank account that I've done forensic accounting to find where did it come in. It never came in. It just went from not being there. And I mean, like $1,000 at a time.
Wow,
and
that's a great problem to have.
No bank errors. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if you've ever, because you can actually
haven't had that happen.
You can totally do this. It's just like hear what you want to hear.
Tell us about your magic wallet, Cynthia. I love this story.
Okay, well, this is Evan's time, but I'll make it quick. So I just went to lunch with my daughters after I'd just gone through a divorce. And anyway, I was just having kind of a nice getaway for lunch. And at the end of the meal, I wanted to leave a tip for the waitress. And so I told my daughters, this is a great moment to leave a cash tip for the waitress. I opened my wallet, and I only had like one, I can't remember, maybe no ones or just one $1 bill. I thought, well, this is not enough for the tip. So I shut my wallet and I said, should I look again? And they were young enough that when kids are young, it's like beginner's mind. They're open to anything. It was a reality shifting household. I've been seeing the stuff in our house for, since 1999 or 2000. So they said, yeah, check again. So I'd open my wallet, check again. And each time I did that, because I did it over and over, I'd pull another single $1 bill out, put it on the table, close the wallet. And I said, well, that's good, but it's not quite enough. Should I look again? So it just kept pulling. It was like a magic trick, but I was not a magician. And there were no hidden dollar bills. It was literally, I just pull out every last $1 bill in the wallet, which there weren't, it was like one to begin with. And then pretty soon I had a nice stack of dollar bills for the tip. And it was amazing and fun.
That's
Never
awesome.
had
But it
nothing like
reminds
that
me of the
happen?
Bible story, how they like were passing around the food and it just wasn't getting empty. You know,
The
what I mean?
loaves and fishes,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I'm a total believer in all the Bible stories because I've seen too much stuff. It's like, okay, it's got to be all real.
Have you had experiences like that, Evan?
No, unfortunately, I haven't. I don't think I'm at that
Me either.
level.
Well, just-
Cynthia
but you-
seems to be at a different level.
Hey,
than
but I think you can do it because you're just, you know, the whole phenomenon of, and I love, you're the only one I've seen do these videos, like hear what you want to hear. You can actually see what you want to see. You can actually bring, you know, that, what do you want, if you want to call it high vibe or joy or whatever.
So let's get a good basis of definition here for those who aren't aware of the hear what you want to hear phenomenon within the Mandela effect, because not everybody knows about that. Evan, tell us about this find that you've made, bud.
I think, well, I discovered it by making Mandela effect videos. I had made a few videos and said, well, you know, let's vote on whether this, I remember this way. I think Journey might have been the trigger. He took the midnight train. Sounds like she took the midnight train, where it makes no sense to say she.
No, it's the other way around. It's supposed to be she and it says he. Yeah.
Okay, vice versa. It's supposed to say, because he talks about
The
a
small
he
town
and then
girl,
a she.
Yeah, the small town girl living in a lonely world. He took a small town train.
Right,
I
he
hear
took the
it
train.
5
Yeah, it
times
makes
a
no
day at
sense.
work. It hits me weird every time.
Okay, so a small town girl, he took the midnight train. I mean, it didn't make any sense. He should have been saying she. So I made the video, and then a lot of people said, what are you talking about? You got to get your ears checked. He's saying he. I'm like, no, I hear she. And then other people were confirming, yeah, it says she. This is weird. And so that I noticed that people were hearing two separate things. And then it happened again with another video. And so then I did some research, and there were some people putting up that's right around the time the Yanny Laurel thing happened on the internet. And then there was a green needle, and with this little Ben 10 toy. My son was into Ben 10 a lot when he was a kid. There was a toy. What was it called?
I can't remember the character's name.
The character's name is what it's actually saying, but you can hear green needle. Or you can
Brainstorm.
Brainstorm. Yeah, Brainstorm was the name of the toy. So Brainstorm, green needle sound nothing alike, but you can hear either one. And then you can hear
Brainstorm,
brain Greenstorm. Yeah, you can, like, 4 different things you can hear off this little toy. So then people started sending me other examples, and the 2 of the most bizarre examples is there's a clip of Grover saying the F word. And he said, and then there's, you can hear him say, that's an excellent idea. Or you can hear him drop an F-bomb. Clearly, like, it sounds nothing like that's an excellent idea. You just hear him say the F word, like, you know, that's an effing excellent idea or whatever. It's like, it doesn't make any, it's not a misheard, because you can tell you can think to yourself, all right, I'm going to hear this. Now I'm going to hear that. You can switch it back and forth in your head. So then we had Rihanna, I think. She's saying, you know, I'm a paper chaser. And then she's saying, I'm a big effing whatever. It's like, if that doesn't sound anything like paper chaser. I mean, these are bizarre because you can play them over and over. You can hear this. You can hear the Rihanna song. You can hear 4 different things clearly. And to me, you know, people say, oh, misheard lyrics have been around a long time. This is not misheard, because with misheard lyrics, you can't specifically hear one thing and then think something else and hear that and not the, you know, switch things around. To me, it's new. What do you all think?
Well, the Mamas and the Papas one was the one that I'd have people listen to it and tell me, no, they're saying I got down on my knees and began to pray. I still hear began, and I couldn't understand why they couldn't hear pretend, you know. But we could be listening. So that was kind of my first introduction. Have you had that experience?
Yeah, that's
Because it
another
sounds
one. Yeah, a lot of
different, you
people
know?
say they could hear pretend or they can hear began.
Yeah.
Now, I saw an interview where the one woman, I think it was Cass,
Mhm.
said that she was singing began in the years later. I was singing began, and no, the word was pretend. So the lead singer was singing pretend. One of the backups was singing pretend, but one of the backups says, "No, I always sang began." So that's kind of weird. That kind of adds
Wow,
to
it
it.
makes you wonder if your brain just locked on the one person saying the other word or something. Then that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. So that kind of adds to the whole
Right.
situation. But
Which would explain one of them, but unless that happened in every scenario, that's still not necessarily an explanation.
But
I love
hear
this.
what you want. I couldn't hear it as pretend. You know,
I love, I
or
love this
began, I mean.
phenomena.
Yeah.
I love it so much because I'm into looking at subjective reality instead of the assumption of objectivity.
Mhm.
And I wrote a paper with George Weissman, the physicist, about it. So I'm really into that view of reality, that we are viewing things subjectively, that we have the opportunity to, through the observer effect, literally affect what we're watching, what we're witnessing. Kind of goes into the whole thing of everything being a bit like a simulation, like Donald Hoffman talks about. Like it's all a dream.
And
yeah,
how
no, I
much
don't necessarily think that hear what you want is new,
No.
but it's definitely been intensified. Just like I don't think the Mandela effect is new, but it's been
Right.
intensified as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
So the reality is not, as you all know, it's totally different than it was 30 years ago. There's something happening, and I don't know. Everyone's got theories about what's going on, but I really feel that it's something with 2012, like the whole, because there was so many
Yeah.
things coming together in 2012,
Yes.
different cultures and expectations, not just the Mayan calendar. There's so much more, as a lot of you probably know. So I think there's something with that, but it's I don't know. It's hard to nail down, exactly what's happening. But
I know we got to wrap this up, but I wanted to bring up the dress. You know, the dress that was like black and blue or gold and white, and it's like, how could they look so different from one another than with those colors yet? You know, and it's kind of like the same thing. You could see what you want. You could make yourself see it one way or the other sometimes. Well, I could anyway. I don't know if other people could.
no, I couldn't switch that around,
Oh,
or
you
the
couldn't?
shoe, or the shoe. I
right.
wasn't able to switch the shoe around. I saw what I think the minority of the people were seeing in the shoe and the dress. But yeah, I think that's like the hear what you want, and like Cynthia was saying, where you can cause reality to change, like the manifestation stuff. I mean, a lot of people are in a manifestation, but don't you think that you need a high level of, I don't know how it works. I mean, I know you need to get into a certain frequency, right? Is that
Yeah,
what it's
exactly.
about?
Yeah. Stay grounded, but kind of grounded to your spiritual nature, rather, also earth. But then I see a lot of flip flops, and I see a lot of see or hear what you say situations. It could go either way, and then I choose the how good can it get direction. So I'm pretty much constantly doing that. And for all of mankind, I feel like some of us are here to kind of, I think you're doing that too, Evan. I think you're helping humanity really steer in a positive direction. Like you say, create the reality you want to create,
Yeah. Raising
That's what
awareness.
this has really taught me. The Mandela effect has taught me that, the fluidity of reality, and the whole create the reality you want thing just kind of came out of that. That's
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned from the Mandela effect, is that you can create the reality that you want. I think that's what I've learned.
So
Absolutely.
beautiful. Love it.
And on that note, I think that is a great place to close this green room session out. So, ladies and gentlemen, we shall see you in a couple moments on the actual show. We're very glad you stopped by the Patreon and joined us tonight. If you are a Patreon member, we thank you so very much. It is very, very appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to get ready for the main show. So, Evan Maitreya, Chris
Yes.
Anatra, Shane Robinson, and Cynthia Sue Larson. On behalf of all these folks, I'm Jerry Higgs, also known as the Dark Wolf. We are IMEC. Together we go.
Together we
Grow.
grow.
Absolutely. Bye,
Love you guys.
everybody.
Bye.